Welcome. This is the Sports Trapp Podcast. My name is John Trapp. And as always, you know it. Rodriguez, how you doing, sir?
What's up, man? Can you hear me? I'm over here at the grocery store trying to get some toilet paper, man. It's tough times, man. And luckily, I don't know if you can tell in the back, but it looks like they got all the cheap toilet paper. You know what that means? That means tearing in your hand.
Really good. That looks really good.
You don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that.
And man, I can't. I would be so remiss if I did not mention the man that puts it all together, the man with the master plan. Hey, and as an accomplished guitarist as I've ever known, Mr. Khoa. What's up, baby? How you doing?
What up? Doing good, man. Just island vibes, still chilling on the beach. Yeah. See, I don't need toilet paper where I'm at right now because then I can just wash my ass in the ocean. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh. Yeah, especially when like the fish come, like the dolphins and the fish come and lick you clean. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. I heard John likes that.
Oh yeah, you know he likes dolphins.
What? Hey man, I'm over here at that crib chilling. Y'all out and about, living your best life apparently. Chris always calls me from the toilet, so this is appropriate, right? And Khoa, you got what? Your guitar out there in the sunshine?
Yes, sir. That's all I need.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us once again today. And you know what we do? We do this for the people. Because what are we, Khoa?
The People's Podcast.
Sir. Yes, sir. For today, again, COVID-19.
Ooh, that man looks clean. Look at that. Is that a bowling ball down there?
Ball. Back to my ball days, baby.
Whoa. See, I got to change my view because right now I go from, now I can see everybody. How you doing? I'm still getting used to the Zoom. Anyways, yeah, I like that bald head, Chris.
Yeah, honestly, man, I felt bad for a lot of people out there because, they can't get haircuts. And I'm seeing them out there either trying to give themselves haircuts, which are horrendous, or if anything, they're letting their women cut their hair and they don't know what the hell they're doing. Fortunately for myself, I'm good. Got a fresh haircut I can do myself because you remember, John, back when I was 18, I was bald, like a baby bottom. So I thought it was time to bring it back. You know what I mean?
There you go. Shoot, I'm getting mad scruffy, man. Mad scruffy. I mean, everything's scruffy. I mean, haven't been able to go get that Brazilian way.
Whoa, I told you. Dolphins.
Hey, man. You got to tell me what that sensation's like later on, man. Anyways, before I was taken aback by that bowling ball we got on the screen right now. We got a great show for you today. Again, COVID-19 edition. I got a couple other words. I choose not to say that no more because I don't want to get rained down on because I used the wrong country to mention the COVID-19. Let's just keep it that way, or at the very least, coronavirus edition. Okay. Let's do that. That's a good medium.
Yeah.
Anyways, people.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
But we can still call it the Bill O'Brien.
Okay. Let's do that then. The Bill O'Brien virus, which we are going to get into today. Not to mention, we finally got some words coming out of the Houston Rockets organization. Special little interview with Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni. Got a little tidbits here and there that I just want to run it by our faithful. And also, man, we got to give big ups to Karl Anthony Towns. Our prayers, our thoughts, everything's with you, man. My man, his mother did pass away from this unfortunate situation going on right now. That just lets everybody know how serious this is. I don't know how many people out there know somebody or know of somebody, but this really hits the NBA home and the NBA alumni, I guess, if you want to say it. The serious, man. It's serious. So every the precautions that we get, everything that they've told you everyone to kind of lay low and stuff. You know, we're trying to do our best out there to let the people know, let our friends know, let our family know how much we want them to be safe and secure. So we do this for not only for, you know, just ourselves, but for our people, our family, and of course that extended family for the NBA and our love for the NBA and everybody that partakes in that. So yeah, just sending our thoughts and prayers to Karl Anthony Towns, man. Anybody else affected with that as well. You know, we did mention a little bit about that Bill O'Brien, so I want to touch a little bit, maybe. And there's some, you know, y'all heard, you know, speaking of football, y'all heard that XFL, just went bankrupt. No plans to bring it back in 2021. You know, and by extension, man, Chris, I got to ask you what's going on with the WWE a little later on in the show, okay? So we'll get back to Vince McMahon and all those happenings, and then Bill O'Brien. But let's first get to talking about Mike D'Antoni and the Rockets and what's going on so far. So the Rockets put out a little video with them in an interview, him and Daryl Morey. And a couple things that I ran across was apparently they're in talks to possibly restarting the season. So the season itself, they're very optimistic of having the season finish out this year. So I got to the point where I was doubting that the season would ever even finish. So they're both optimistic with the season finishing out. The rumor is they're going to start it in the end of May or June, but that wasn't discussed in the interview. But they did say something where it would be fast and, you know, furious, I guess, if that's the right word. Fast and furious to where they would have games pretty much back to back to back and just try to finish out the season. Now, I don't know how many games. They would not discuss any details or specifics. It's a fluid situation. The COVID-19 virus that has everybody in a pandemic. You know, every day could change. Any day could change. So they haven't released any details, but we should hear something at the beginning of May. So, fellas, man, we're gonna have a season. Apparently, if that's really going to happen if all the rumors are correct. And with the optimism of Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni, man, I'm optimistic of it. But here's my question. Would that include people in the stands?
No.
I
Not at
don't
all.
think so.
And here's the thing. I think everyone's being extremely optimistic. But then there's a difference between optimistic and being realistic. And right now, you know, Dr. Fauci has said that the disease, the virus, dictates everything. Now, what we want, don't get me wrong, we all want basketball to come back. I told you, I'm all for the Rockets coming back and continue NBA season as long as James Harden is not fat and out of shape. But realistically, I have to really question why Trump is getting with all these sports owners and trying to push this agenda to get these sports teams back, you know, going. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of these billionaires are losing money, more money than they've ever lost in probably a long time. And they're trying to hurry up and speed this process up. The problem is that how are you going to be able to play these games without players getting sick or getting other people sick? Cameramen, coaches, assistant coaches, all that. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, the one thing about the phases that Donald Trump has come out and recently said that he wanted to reinstate the country, getting it back to normalcy. One of the things that I noticed was all these precautionary things that we're taking, like when we go to a store and they have us standing 6 feet away from each other, that's going to be like the new normal. That's not going away. So here, when I'm thinking about games and such, or just gatherings of large crowds, like if I want to go to a game or a large gathering with my wife, am I literally going to have to sit 6 feet or 6 chairs or every other chair away? If that's what's going to happen?
Well, I'm sure for your wife, she'd be happy with that, but that's a different story. John, but seriously, that's just it, man. I don't think that people really understanding, comprehending that. First and foremost, getting back to going. I'm all for all of us working again, but I've said it before. Until everyone can get tested to have the virus or already had the virus, the antibody test, then all we're doing is risking healthy people of getting sick and not being able to work. You know what I mean? And in reality, I don't see, if they do play the game, I don't see, or any sports, I guess franchise playing, I don't see how you can allow fans to come, because we're still learning about this disease. We still, like they just said that, that if someone sneezes, right, like it can last, the droplets can last in the air for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Imagine how many people walking in between those droplets. So just think about how many people come to games and sports arenas sick and not even know it. And that's a problem. Then we even found out that somebody carried the disease for 17 days and didn't know it. 17 days. Right. So now we went from 14 to 17. So there's still a lot we're learning about disease, not to mention that people who have had the virus and have recovered are now still showing up as being positive, and they don't know if those people are still able to transmit that disease.
Right. Man, it's going to be I'm interested to see what their ideas are. I don't necessarily care to have anything set in stone, because nobody knows. It's a fluid situation. We're learning things every day. But I'm interested. I am interested to see what everybody's plan is, because even with the NFL, I'm interested in that too. Because in September, or as it gets down to it, where they still got to do the draft, they still got to do like workouts, pre-workouts. They got to do preseason. Of course, their office staff has to get together. So even with everybody thinking about the NFL, I'm wondering what they're going to do about their plans going forward, even if it's in the offseason. NBA, of course, MLB, they're already, affected big time by this. So at the very least, I want to know what their plans are. If that means canceling the season, hey, man, it is what it is. I think the NBA has great foresight in taking basically 25% of all the players' pay off the rip just for situations like this. So, whether it's good business or bad business, I think it's just it's important to have sports, but how much of it is reliant on just fans being there to carry the crowd, to carry the team?
My question to you, John and Khoa, is like, I'm hearing all these owners, Donald Trump, and fans, some fans, but most of them hearing owners and Donald Trump saying how we need to get these games back going. Is anyone asking these players how they feel? Because I'm sure just like the players, like us fans, this COVID-19 has changed everything for us. And we just talked about, Townsend and losing his mother. These players' safety is probably going to be priority number one, including their family safety. So are these players, are they even willing to come back and play knowing that they can be at risk, get the virus, and bring it back to their families? Like, we're so quick to say, hey, let's get the games going, but are these players have been traumatized by COVID-19? I mean, that's a scary thing if I'm a player.
Speaking of which, there's rumors out there saying that I forget the guy's name off the Utah Jazz, Rudy Gobert and Mitchell. I forget the guy. What's the shooting guard? Call him Spider.
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell,
right? Yeah, man. Rudy Gobert came in. Of course, he tested positive. Apparently, he passed it on to Donovan Mitchell. So, Donovan Mitchell doesn't want anything to do with Rudy Gobert. Nothing. Like they're supposedly their relationship is severed to the point where it's severed to the point where they can't play again with each other.
Man, I mean, I don't blame him because of the way Gobert went about it and playing around and being silly and not taking it serious. And he's come out and apologized and said that, he was being irresponsible and he should have been a lot more respectful to his teammates, especially in their close quarters. You know what I mean? But we're thinking about this, man. Basketball is a contact sport. You still got to touch each other. That's sweat, that's spit, that's everything. So unless you can play 6 feet away from each other, I just see that there's still a 50% chance of risk that you go out there and get sick. There's so many people right now that got the virus and don't even know they got the virus. And that's just it. You don't know how your body's going to respond to it. So, I mean, There's a lot of risk.
Khoa, I want to get your input on that as far as like what kind of plan do you see moving forward with, say, some of these leagues starting back up?
I don't really see any plan. I don't think there's any way. I think that I understand, the thought of wanting to, and when you hear, everything you hear from like Trump or anything, especially Trump, I always take it with a grain of salt. And I think that the big reason why Trump wants it, just like, anybody would, is just to have a morale booster. That's the one thing about sports that, as you have fans and you have haters and all this, but it unites people and it gives people something to put their attention to focus on. But I think we all understand that. I think the players know that that the sports have that power as well. But there's a reason why they got canceled. There's a reason why everything's on hiatus. There's a reason why gatherings are on hiatus. We can't have concerts. Another big thing, music, festivals, that Coachella, that was literally just supposed to be this past weekend, one of the biggest music festivals in the entire world, that got postponed.
Burning Man.
Yeah, Burning Man, other countless ones, right? So all of these that have had to either be canceled or postponed because they understand that it's a gathering of people that's what they can't risk. And like, I'm thinking about the NBA, right? And could be like, even if they try to have a plan where it could be done without fans, which if it were going to be, that would be the first step. But even then, you said it yourself earlier, you think about all the office staff, think about the people that are there that are filming, that are going to be put on TV, because they're not going to play for nobody. They're going to do it and then have it be broadcast, because that's a big part of the sell. So you have more people there, and then that's not even the players. And then that brings my point to Chris's point, because I think that's number one. Like, you forget to think that, hey, these players are also people that have been affected or can be affected, and so I think that they have, not all of them, but they definitely are going to have some reserves about this. And who's to say all of them even want to come back? Let's say only half of them agree to come back. So what, are they still going to do it,
Right. So here's my question to you guys, and I'll leave this at the last question on the subject. But so what do you guys think about the UFC still trying to put on shows and WWE still trying to put on shows? They're going to the point where they get it legally allowed in like state, like for example, the state of Florida has allowed them to consider themselves essential. So what do you guys think about these shows still putting themselves on?
Are these first of all, UFC and WWE, and we'll get into WWE very, very soon. They're not essential. They're not essential at all. They're just essential to billionaires' pockets. That's what they are. Make money. So if billionaires making money is essential, then to me, that puts a mark and makes the real essential people out there, the people at the grocery stores, the people in the hospitals, the people who are protecting our neighborhoods, our fire department, it makes them no longer like essential. And I think that's just so disrespectful in so many ways. And as much as I want sports, as much as I love sports, I'm just not going to be illogical and ignorant about the whole process. It comes when it comes, but I'm not going to sit here and go along. And by all means, you can look every day at Florida. There's always something stupid going on in Florida. It's one of the worst states with some of the worst laws I've ever seen in my life. And it makes no sense. Like, you can go and bash iguanas on the head because they got too many. That's legal. It's just an ignorant ass state. But anyways, I want sports, but I'm not going to sit here and call sports essential. That's just stupid.
All right, fellas. I wanted to move on and try to approach another subject on
Hey, but
speaking of the NFL, go ahead.
Chris, you shouldn't be bashing the home state of Carol Baskin, okay?
She did it. She killed her husband.
If y'all haven't seen the Tiger King by now, man, there's no helping you. So yeah, man. I wanted to get a little bit on the Texans, a little bit of the hometown team with the NFL, and we did cover a little bit, but I wanted to kind of get into a little deeper of Bill O'Brien and his tactics right now. I'm not too sure where exactly we left off, but he has now traded for Brandon Cooks. Now at this point, he has Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, and David Johnson as our elite running back and wide receiver core, behind, of course, the great Deshaun Watson. Now, we have basically all those people, and we still had to trade away DeAndre Hopkins. Does the trade for Brandon Cooks, Chris, make you feel a little bit better?
Hell no. Hell to the fuck no.
It's a first-round talent.
No, he's not. That's an insult to the real.
I don't know if I said this last time, but Brandon Cooks has fucked me in fantasy like 3 years in a row. So fuck that guy, okay?
First of all, Brandon Cooks is not a first round pick. If so, then why did we give it?
First round pick though?
I know, but I'm saying his worth is not equivalent to Hopkins as a first round pick. If he was a first round pick type of player, then why did we get a stupid low second round? Have to give up a second round pick for him? That makes no sense. At the end of the day, like, you basically traded a player. Like, basically you would have been better off paying Hopkins, who is truly a superstar player, but instead you traded him for absolutely very little. And you're trying to basically make up for the trade or save face by bringing in someone like Brandon Cooks. So if you really break this down, you basically traded Hopkins, your best player, somebody who has played every season. He even played last year with broken ribs. You not only traded Hopkins, but literally, like, when you break it down, like, you traded Hopkins for Cooks, David Johnson, and a combined almost a $50 million in salary commitments, along with some low round draft picks. That doesn't make any sense.
Hold on. See, this is why I think that's a little misleading. Okay, so you got Brandon Cooks,
Mm-hmm.
you got Randall Cobb, and you have Will Fuller. Now, let's be honest here, and we kind of know what the rumor is in town, is DeAndre Hopkins wanted a trade. We not only is that a rumor, we know that for a fact because Bill O'Brien came out and said as much. He was looking for a trade, right? He wanted more. He wanted not a trade. He wanted more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Bill O'Brien's called it a raise.
A raise, okay. So he also said that he wanted to give him to a team that was willing to give him that money. Apparently, obviously, we weren't. We had signed a contract with DeAndre Hopkins, and he wanted a raise at this point before the contract was up. But in the NFL, it works as such to where you can hold out. And the idea was for him to hold out for another, $18 million a year? So that's the rumor. When you put it all together, you're paying $10 million for Will Fuller, and you're paying $8 million for Brandon Cooks. That's 18 right there for two players, not just one, two, right? So you're basically you're getting somebody that's a first round pick, regardless if you think he's not first round talent or not. But he was drafted in the first round. He's got traded for all intents and purposes. He's been traded twice for first rounders. And we only gave up a second rounder, and we got a fourth round pick after that. So it keeps our options open at the end of the day, because if we were to cut Brandon Cook tomorrow, we'd be on the hook for $8 million. That's it. Not $50 million, 8.
No, that's not true. He's guaranteed. So if we cut him tomorrow,
no. I'm talking about this year.
This year, but after this year, that's a problem. He becomes guaranteed for the next 3 years, so he has to play this season. After this season he plays, we're on the track. We have to pay him his $13, $14, and $15 million that's remaining on his contract. And I'm sorry, John, think about this. Hopkins' cap hit and base salary in 2020 are both $12.5 million, but he's on contract averaging $16.2 million per season over the course of 5 seasons. Of that contract's $81 million value, $42 million is guaranteed. At his $12.5 million salary this year, Hopkins is 12th highest paid wide receiver. If we would have just given him $18, $19 million in that extension that he wanted, that would have put him at least a third tier as far as wide receivers and how much they get paid. And I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it would make a little bit of sense, but then you go and give Randall Cobb, an old-ass receiver, a 3-year contract for $27 million. And that's $18.75 million guaranteed, John. So
right.
It was never about saving money, and it was never about getting more players for your bang of the buck. You just didn't like Hopkins. You didn't think he deserved a raise, and basically he was underpaid, and that's the truth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Khoa, you got anything to add?
I mean, it's the same as I said before, man. It's tough to see how it will pan out, and like I want to believe that it is going to. The optimistic side of me, of course, as that type of fan. But it's still hard. I mean, it's hard to see if we'll have a season. So, with everything going on, even then, I still think that the trade does not make sense to me. I'm more on the side of Chris there, but I do believe that in what you're saying, John, in the fact that at least that like maybe he does have a game plan and there is some thought behind this, and so I just want to we don't have a choice, right? We got to see it through. So let's see it through, and let's see, if the season goes on and it turns out that they're a good fit, then maybe
here's the only thing I'll leave. This is my last comment on everything. If it doesn't pan out with Brandon Cooks, we can cut him, no money committed. If it doesn't pan out with Will Fuller, he's gone last year in his contract, no commitment. If it doesn't pan out with Randall Cobb, we're on the hook for another $6 million after this year. That's it. Everybody else is just it's open for the market. That's it. So I think Chris brought it up.
Randall Cobb is guaranteed $18 million regardless.
I know, but I'm saying after this year. So what I think Chris brought it up was he said that Bill O'Brien said that we need to give the Texans about 2 or 3 years. I don't necessarily know about that. That's a right, I guess, projection. But at the end of the day, once this year is over, if it doesn't work out, we get to see exactly where his mindset is and what he wants to do in building a team around Deshaun Watson. I think after this year, we'll know for sure whether he's the guy for the job or not.
John, what did I tell you? Are we really truly building this team for Deshaun Watson? Are we just building this team around Bill O'Brien's ego? Because right now, that's what it feels like. We're building this team around his goddamn ego. That's it.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, man, there's one thing about this coming up weekend that I cannot wait for, and we're going to delve in the second part of the show. But you know, the documentary out there that's coming Sunday, yes, sir, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, The Last Dance, 10-part mini-series, 2 episodes a week, people. You're so starved for sports. I cannot wait for this. I am starved for sports. I know you guys are starved for sports. Man, if this is anything like 30 for 30, I feel like this could be 30 for 30 on steroids. I will be glued to that TV like no other documentary, I think, ever in my adult life. Oh, by the way, ESPN is going to allow F-bombs all day long. Yes, unadulterated, unedited. Oh man, I cannot wait. It's gonna be so real.
They didn't want to pay the editor to do all that editing. Probably they're like, nah, that's too much. Just go ahead and just leave it.
if you're one of the parents of little kids and want to be able to watch a show while they're in the room, switch over to ESPN2. I feel like I'm stumping for ESPN right now. But yeah, switch over to ESPN2 and they will bleep out all the bad words, all the curse words. But this is over, 10 hours of just them following the 6-time champion Chicago Bulls all season long, 1997-98, from the game 1 to eventually the championship, baby, and the last shot, people. So yeah, man, cannot wait for that. Chris, you and me and Khoa, we're gonna switch on over to the next show. Give us a top 10 of MJ's, our top 10, our MJ classic moments that we grew up with. And we're going to give it to the people because that's what we are, man. We're the people's podcast. Yes, sir. Khoa, man, time left?
We got 5 minutes left. So I don't know if, Chris, you want to go into WWE real quick and wrestling?
Oh, man.
I know you want to talk longer than that.
Nah. I mean, it's as simple as this. I mean, just recently WWE, they just laid off so many wrestlers. And for most people, maybe that wouldn't be such a big deal if you're not into wrestling, but you got to understand that wrestlers is a little bit different than your average sports athletes because they're considered contract workers. That means that they pretty much can get fired and cut like most contract workers. There's no benefits. There's no PTO. There's nothing like that. And I just want you to keep in mind that Vince McMahon is worth $1.7 billion, and most of his worth is tied in WWE stock. Now, what makes this interesting that he would lay off so many people is because he was telling the wrestlers that, hey, we're cutting costs. We're letting a lot of you guys go because we can't afford to pay you. But at the same time, he just got approved by the Florida state governor as what John said earlier, as essential, meaning they can continue to record live shows. So technically, they're not necessarily losing any money in this sense because they're still going to get paid by the networks. And so what's even more interesting is that you're laying off all these players and saying you don't have money to pay them, but then Linda McMahon, his wife, gives money to Donald Trump and the super PAC in Florida, which was equivalent to $26.8 million. So obviously, at the end of the day, Vince McMahon is lying, and he laid off so many wrestlers. And why it's even substantial is like people are like, well, hey, can't these wrestlers go to other organizations? That's just it. They all have now a 90-day non-complete clauses contract, meaning that they can be let go, but they can't work for any other company for the next 90 days.
I didn't know that.
So it's unfair to them in so many different ways. And just so I can continue hit it, like WWE plan cuts. The company also wrote that it has substantial financial resources, both available cash and debt capacity, which currently total approximately 0.5 billion to manage challenges ahead. With 500 million ready for use, the need to cut so many performers, it's not justifiable. So at the end of the day, like I said before, it's all about the money that Vince McMahon has in the stocks. And this is, again, white collar crime at its best, I'm sure. And I just think it's really, really, really sad. And the thing about it is that WWE for the last couple of years has spent so much time like getting all these wrestlers on contract because they didn't want the competitors to get them. And then they didn't even use most of these incredible athletes, and they didn't give them storylines, or they basically just held them down because they just didn't want the competitors to have them. And now we're in a situation, no one saw COVID-19 happen, but now these wrestlers can't even get jobs for the next 90 days. And it's just really, really, really sad. And this is happening across America. Your employers are definitely mistreating the workers. And we can honestly say that WWE wouldn't be WWE without these sports entertainers. And so for me as a fan, even how stupid and how horrible the show has been for the last couple of years, I still watch. But after this, man, it would be really, really hard to continue watching a show that could have paid their players, could have played their entertainers, but just didn't want to because they're being greedy. And that's just ridiculous.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. Drop that mic, Chris. Yeah, man. Gentlemen, we got a hell of a show for you coming up. Check it out. Like, subscribe, just so we can put out some more content for you people, because we are the People's Podcast, Sports Trapp Podcast, coming to you live and direct, even though the COVID-19 is taking over. Do not worry, people. We got you. Hey, man, fellas, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yes.